Joining us now, a guy that's already on board, Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, always love talking to you. Welcome back.
Oh, nice to talk to you, Brian.
Mr. Mayor, I know you were concerned. I talked to you yesterday. You were concerned about some of the things that Donald Trump was doing, the decisions he was making, the fights he was having. I also know that you had a conversation with him since. What are you comfortable relaying to us?
Well, I'm very comfortable relating to you that I think Donald Trump understands that he's got to remain on the things that got him there, which is the lack of jobs in America, the unfair trade agreements that we have, the fact that Hillary Clinton wants to put coal miners out of work, bringing steel mills back, standing up to ISIS, not having a press secretary like Josh Earnest, who bold-faced lied yesterday when he said it wasn't ransom. I think he understands that all the fundamentals are out there for him to win, and the only person that can really affect this election is Donald Trump.
Would you say, Mr. Mayor, it's accurate that the higher-ups of the Trump campaign, there was frustration over the distractions with the Gold Star family?
Well, I don't know about I don't know. They sure as heck would not have rather that it happened. On the other hand, Brian, I am really annoyed at the Republicans who attack him, because the Democrats don't do that. When the director of the FBI put out a report that condemned Hillary Clinton as a person who was careless, grossly negligent in handling national security information, where were the Democrats saying, "Oh, we have real pause supporting someone who couldn't pass an FBI background check"? They all stick together. And then we have all these people who, the minute that there's a problem, their hands start shaking and they start getting nervous and they start worrying about whether they're going to get reelected. And I'm starting to get
ticked off.
Yeah. I'm starting to get like, hey, they got a political party and we don't. I mean, this is what happens. A candidate makes mistakes. When I ran for office, I made mistakes. My people stuck with me. The other guys were criticizing me, not my people. Hillary. I mean, there's plenty to criticize about Hillary. I mean, my God, she's the biggest liar that's ever run for president. What about the Clinton Foundation? How come there aren't Democrats that are worried about the Clinton Foundation and all the money they were getting, like in the millions and hundreds of millions, for all the action she was taking as Secretary of State? That's far worse than anything Donald Trump said about, a Gold Star family or.
But let me put you in the. I know one person that can. Every time I bring your name up with him, he always says how much he likes you and respects you, is John McCain. So John McCain's in a tough battle to keep his Senate seat in Arizona, and he says, "I'm going to vote for Donald Trump." But, some of the things that Donald Trump has said is a problem. He's looked at as not very pro-Hispanic in a very pro-Hispanic state. So it wouldn't be politically smart for him to make himself as tight with him as Mike Pence is now with Donald Trump. So for Donald Trump to come out and say, I don't know if I haven't really liked John McCain too much. He hasn't done a really good job with vets. That really hurts. So you wouldn't blame John McCain if he fired back the way he did, would you?
No, look, if you shoot at somebody in politics, they shoot back at you, and you got to know that. And my advice to Donald in private is the same as in public. Keep your eye on the ball, and the ball is Hillary Clinton. It's not John McCain or Kelly Ayotte or Paul Ryan or Mr. Khan and their family. What this is about, and this is a lot bigger than Donald Trump or me or you. It's about America, and it's about whether we're going to change the corrupt government we have in Washington, and we have a corrupt government. I mean, the last couple of weeks have demonstrated that. I mean, what they did with that $400 million is absolutely corrupt. I mean, it violates every money laundering statute I ever wrote, and I wrote some of the money laundering statutes and prosecuted them. You can't take $10,000 out of a bank without filling out a form.
So you're saying there's some paperwork behiund that, or they just...
No, wait. In the paper today, it says the Justice Department advised against it, right?
Yep.
The Justice Department has now become an advisory board. The Justice Department doesn't advise. The Justice Department prosecutes. If the Justice Department advised against it, the Justice Department should now be investigating it. Shouldn't it?
Absolutely. Here's Senator Tom Cotton. When I brought this up to him yesterday, and aside from the State Department overriding the Justice Department, here's what he said. Cut 10.
John Kirby and John Kerry and Barack Obama and many other senior officials have been lying to the American people about the nuclear deal with Iran for months and months and months, and they are lying once again. This was a ransom payment in which you had been taking probably small unmarked bills, palletizing them and flying them to Iran in the dead of night. It was a ransom payment then. It's a ransom payment now.
Senator,
the consequence is that more Americans are being held hostage.
And I think that basically says it.
Well, that reminds me of 25 years ago when I was an assistant U.S. attorney prosecuting, drug cases, Colombian drug cases and mafia drug cases. That's the way they used to launder money. And that's the way the White House does it. Look, the law at the time made it illegal to give any money to Iran. And the law says directly or indirectly. This big game about putting it in Swiss francs and whatever else they put it in, that doesn't get around the indirectly part. Number one. Number two, they engaged in massive money laundering. Just because they're government officials, they don't have a right to launder money any more than I do.
So here's Barack Obama says, I told you this already. It's January 17th, 2016. Cut 4.
The United States and Iran are now settling a long-standing Iranian government claim against the United States government. Iran will be returned its own funds, including appropriate interest, but much less than the amount Iran sought. For the United States, this settlement could save us billions of dollars that could have been pursued by Iran.
Is that enough?
No, of course not. First of all, what are we paying any money to Iran for? It's the biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world. Everyone knows that. A lot of its money is going to Hezbollah and to other groups, the Houthis, that are killing people. Just a short while ago, the Quds Force was killing American soldiers in Iraq. Where's Barack Obama's sensitivity to the Gold Star mothers who lost their sons to Iranians that killed them in Iraq? And we have a picture in the Times yesterday of John Kerry bowing his head to the Prime Minister, or one of the Prime Minister's representatives of this terrorist government of Iran. I believe that should be the icon
right.
And the symbol of the Obama administration, bowing your head to dictators, right. Potentates, killers, murderers, and terrorists.
And if you were running for office, that would have been your focus. Almost all other 15 people, it would have been their focus. But only one guy won. It was Donald Trump. And I'm sure he, in his mind, saying, my instincts got me here, leave me alone. Rudy, does he push back on you when you point out things like you're pointing out to my audience now?
Nope.
Does he say I'm wrong?
I wouldn't say that, but he certainly listens, and he's trying to get good advice. Remember, this is a new process for him in two ways. One, the guy's been in business all his life, and the style that he has worked for him great in business. The style worked in the primary. It is true that a primary is different than a general election, and I think he's making that adjustment. And it's still early enough for people not to get so darn nervous. I mean, Dukakis was ahead of Bush by 17% at this point in their election. Actually, it was even closer to the election than this.
Right.
And Bush, with the help, by the way, of Roger Ailes, won that election by 8-10 points.
Gotcha. By the way, you say the money's going to terror. Josh Earnest says something different. Cut 13.
Their infrastructure was crumbling. So we know that they used a revenue from sanctions relief to start investing in infrastructure. We also know that they had significant debts that they were unable to pay, and they were eager to repay those debts, and frankly, their creditors were eager to collect.
Yeah, they didn't want to be known as welchers. Just they prefer terrorists, not welchers. So do you buy that?
No, I don't buy any of it. First of all, I think any debt to Iran has been wiped out by the fact that they held Americans hostage for 400 plus days, by the fact that they've killed many Americans. We don't owe them money. They owe us money.
Thank you. And I want to get to this topic because I think this is totally irresponsible for another morning show host to say this using unnamed sources about a candidate for president. Listen to Joe Scarborough.
Several months ago, a foreign policy expert on the international level went to advise Donald Trump, and 3 times he asked about the use of nuclear weapons. 3 times he asked, at one point, if we have them, why can't we use them? That's one of the reasons why he just doesn't have foreign policy experts around.
Trump asked 3 times.
3 times in an hour briefing, why can't we use nuclear weapons? But
so it makes him seem totally incompetent.
Yeah, well, this is the Goldwater. This is the same Goldwater garbage they tried with the nuclear cloud and all that stuff. I've been with Donald Trump a lot more often than, like for 28 years or 29 years, than whatever unnamed cowardly source there is for that. And there is no way that I wouldn't trust Donald Trump to be in charge of our national security.
So do you doubt this story being true, Mr. Mayor? Because you know Donald Trump. Does he really ask questions like a 12-year-old? Why don't we use nuclear weapons?
There would be no way he'd ask that question. I believe that's a total lie made up in order to make him look bad. And look, let's face it. Even this thing with the family has been blown way out of proportion. Hillary Clinton did worse in lying to the 2 Gold Star mothers about the death of their sons in Benghazi, and in that particular case, it was her fault, right?
Yeah.
None of this had to do with Donald Trump's fault. He said something that you could argue was insensitive. What she did was to tell a complete falsehood to 2 mothers who lost their son because she was a grossly negligent Secretary of State.
Gotcha. Wen, you're fired up. So
I am.
I said, do you have a schedule of appearances?
We're going to work something out. Not yet.
All right.
But I will be making some speeches, and I like to make speeches.
Well, yeah, and you know what? You're great at it. You don't need much notes, and for the most part, you stay on topic. So it's something we're not used to.
For the most part, and when I make my mistakes, you can come after me.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be afraid to. Mr. Mayor, thanks so much for continuing to help our show and our listeners. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. Talk to you soon. Mayor Rudy Giuliani.